These are the Saucony Cohesion TR16 shoes. These are a little bit dirty because I put them through the ringer already with like a 60-mile test. I will say I can't recommend these shoes from Saucony. I'm a very big Saucony fan. They fit my feet very nicely, but the biggest knock on these shoes is the insole. The insole completely tore my feet up after, I'd say, a half marathon. But they do feel good on shorter distances under that half marathon distance. As you see, I already got the runner's knot going on. And again, I already put these through the test. I did a 7-mile training run in these on pavement, to gravel road, to trail, back to pavement. And then I did a 3-mile pavement run the next day to break them in. And then I did a 50-mile race this past weekend, which was a lot of road, a lot of gravel, and then about 10 miles of trail, some technicality, and then some like grassy field mixed in. And they really did grip good. As you see, they're not really too luggy. That's why I got these. They have a nice, I guess, medium profile, or what I'm going to call medium profile when it comes to rubber on the bottom. I had no trouble on the rail trail, no trouble on the gravel trail, no trouble on pavement, no trouble on the trail part or even the technical part. They gripped on everything. I didn't slip at all, even in some of the wetter conditions. And the sides held up pretty good. Sometimes I get rips for Saucony shoes on the sides. These held up, and as you see, already getting 60 miles, a little over 60 miles in on these. The rubber still looks pretty good, so it's a nice solid rubber. It's not a soft rubber where you do 40, 50 miles and it's going to disintegrate already. This is actually a pretty solid rubber. And as I said, with the gravel that we ran on and the pavement, you can still see some of the little notches, those little like stubby, pointy things, even on the fronts. Well, the fronts might be a little bit worn off, but you can still see some because I'm a 4-foot striker. It took a little bit more off than, say, in the back, but overall, these shoes really didn't do any or incur any damage, even after a 50-mile race. But again, as I'm going to say, the insoles are horrible. Yeah, so after 60 miles, this insole is pretty much flat. I don't know if you've ever seen a flatter insole. You see how that is? It may be like a 50-cent piece in some of these sections now, like that thick. As you can see, my shoe print, or my footprint, is already embedded in there, and it is stiff. Like you can see, it's not cushiony at all. That is my knock on these shoes. They're not conducive to running long distance in them. I'm going to switch these insoles out, obviously, so I can get more use out of them. But if you do find these shoes in your arsenal, switch out the insoles if you're going to do some long runs in them. But if you're going to do only 10 or less miles, you should be okay. But even then, as things start to wear down, that the insole is probably going to tear your feet up a little bit. I noticed, as you see, and as I said already, I'm more of a 4-foot striker than a heel striker, and the balls of my foot, or both my feet, were very sore and red, and I got blisters like in between the balls of my forefoot, just because there was not enough cushion to absorb the impact, because the insole is just so horrible in general. And I do like the Cohesion line from Saucony for training in general. Like I have the road shoe version. I've had many models of that I use on the road all the time. I even wear that Cohesion model for work on a solid surface all day, and I never had any issues with it, even though I do change the insoles of those as well after a while, because they do just get as bad. But this shoe is very durable in general, whether it's the road version or the TR15s like these are. Again, I know it's dirty, but I wasn't going to clean them because I'm a trail runner. We don't necessarily have to have the cleanest shoes, and even for a product review, I just wanted to make sure people knew that I actually used the shoe. Here's the other one. It's the same way. Yeah, to make sure people actually know that I actually use the shoe. But that would be my only knock, again, is the insole. And after 60 miles, there's really nothing wrong with this shoe. It's still almost, well, if I'd wash it off, it would be like brand new. I do have a little bit of scuff mark up here. That's just from kicking a rock or a tree during the race. It's not just normal wear. So I should probably get 300-400 miles out of these, because with the rubber in it, even after 60 miles, it's held up pretty good. And even like the foam inside the rubber is held up good. So it's nice and solid. It's got the Versa Run foam, and it's still pretty responsive. There's just not enough cushioning. The tongue seemed to be alright. I didn't have any issues other than that. I think on the left one though, up in here, I might have tied it a little bit tighter because it did get a little bit of more friction here. But again, I ran these for 10 miles before race day, which should have been plenty of mileage to break them in. I did have to re-tie my shoes during the race to make them tighter, because they finally broke in. The shoelaces finally broke in enough where I could tie them tight. And I thought that would help keep my foot from getting that friction for the lack of the insole itself, but it really didn't. Trying to think what else to say about this shoe. But I mean, if you're looking for a trainer or even a race day shoe where you're only going to do a half mile or less, this is a nice cheap shoe to use. It's going to last you a long time. I would use this more as a trainer, and then like for race day, if you're going to actually use trails, use like the Paragon or something like that, the Endorphin if you're actually going to be on road. But this is sort of also a hybrid, what I'm going to call a hybrid shoe. I know Saucony's come out with some like hybrids right now. We're supposed to be able to go from road to trail, back and forth. I think they didn't mention this for this particular brand, but I think it's the same way, but it's a cheaper version of those shoes. Just because it's not a full road shoe. It's built, the upper is built like a road shoe, the bottom is built like a light duty trail shoe. So to me, it's a hybrid, and it worked perfectly from that 50-mile race where I went from road to gravel to trail, back to road to gravel to pavement type deal. So I went back and forth, and it didn't make my feet tired or my legs tired at all. And again, it's not very luggy. It's just, the rubber to me, I'm going to best describe it, is a thicker version of the road shoe. It's probably 3 or 4 times more thick than the Cohesion road shoe. And it just feels like the road shoe in general, just with thick rubber, and again, with a shitty insole that basically is paper thin. I don't know why they would put these in there, but I guess it's because it's the lower end model. That's why they went with a cheaper shoe. But again, there is literally no cushion in these insoles anymore. And I definitely started feeling that after probably 15 miles, definitely after 15 miles into this race that I did. But the first like 3 or 4 were on rail trail before we hit some trail, and then we started hitting pavement and gravel. And that's really where I started noticing my feet to start to hurt. And that would make sense because that would put me in that like 25-mile range where these were fully worn in, broken down to this flatness. And then again, the more I ran on it, the more my feet hurt. And you can see, like, this is where I was having issues in my feet, right here in between the balls of my feet. It's definitely a very flat part. Maybe on the outer edge here, there's a little bit of cushion still, just barely. And that's just because my foot doesn't really squish it down. But here in the middle, where the balls of my feet are and in between, where I got the blisters, that's where I really had the issues. And again, it's all flat. And even in the heel, it's so flat that I got redness all around my heels as well. So if you get these Saucony Cohesion TR15s, change the insole. And then once you change the insole, you should be good to go for road, trail, or hybrid run on rail trail, gravel, pavement, trail, just nice hike or bike day. These would be a perfect shoe for that once you change the insole. But don't plan on doing anything over 10 to 15 miles unless you change that insole. But for the price point, when you can get 300-400 miles, I believe, out of these easily, you really can't beat them. So check them out and see what you think, and let me know.